Maybe I will.
These dates are dangerous for the recording.
Dude, these dates were delicious.
I know. It's so good.
Man, we got a special show for y'all, and then very nice treat if you've been watching a few of our, or not watching, listening to a few of our shows before. You know this is Cooking with Crypto.
Yep.
And you know we start off every episode with a chef tip, usually from our master chef, Rob. Although a few others may be coming down the pipeline.
That's right. You guys are working on a few. Marshall's thrown up a recipe. You've got your smoothie recipes on the website, so we're looking for it. We're down one character this evening. Marshall was unable to join us, but we're gonna get going. This is Rob, and that was Spencer introducing us. Welcome back, Cyber Chefs. Today, so let's go ahead and get right into it. We're gonna do kind of a condensed version of our show, and our kind of sticking with that timeline and that idea. We're going to do a very short, simple, and amazing recipe for today's cooking section, and that is bacon wrapped dates. These things are fantastic. They're easy. They're great for parties. They're great if you've got to bring a dish to the party.
Oh yeah.
They combine a great, like, sweet and salty flavor together, and it's just delicious as a whole. So all you need bacon, really your favorite type of bacon. Bacon's on sale these days, so
Locally.
yeah, exactly. At least in Atlanta, it was like $5 for a pound. It was pretty legit. Then you'll need dates, preferably pitted. The pitted dates will be easier to actually
Do the prep work.
Yeah, do the prep work, right. Well, oftentimes I've gotten the non-pitted dates and had to pit them myself, and it just adds time to the whole thing. You get them pitted and you're shaving down your prep time by probably about 10-15 minutes at least, just pitting all the dates. So anyway, bacon, dates, and I fill the dates with almonds. Now
that was an interesting surprise.
Yeah. Now you can swap out the almond recipe for your favorite type of either blue cheese or gorgonzola, which will also be fantastic in these things. So that's a good alternative. So basically, set your oven 425. Let that start heating up. Take your dates, fill them with at least one almond a piece. If you've got bigger dates, go ahead and fill those up with two. Two almonds won't change the bite. It'll just kind of add a little bit more filling in there, right? Then all you're gonna do is take the bacon, and I like my dates to have an extra amount of bacon on them. So I normally half my bacon pieces.
Yeah.
If you're being
the double wrap.
Yeah, the double wrap. If you're being a little stingy and you want to make your bacon stretch, or if we're in a bacon crisis again where bacon's more expensive per pound, go ahead and third that, and then you don't quite get that full double wrap experience with the bacon.
We experienced a little issue trying to do bacon that was a little too short.
Yeah.
And in the cooking cycle, it kind of like...
Yeah, we miscounted and stuffed too many dates and needed to stretch the last bit of bacon out, and so we turned a half of a bacon into a quarter. So that kind of shortchanged a few of these guys. But
No
yeah,
matter.
take that, stick it on a cookie sheet.
Mm-hmm.
I usually put down aluminum foil to make the cleanup a lot easier on the cookie sheet. Wrap your bacon around the filled date. Stick them all on the sheet. There's no need. What's great about the double wrap technique is there's no need for any kind of toothpicks. A lot of people will use toothpicks to try to hold the bacon on there. Mm-hmm. Not necessary if you use a bit more bacon. Throw that in the oven. 9 to 10 minutes on each side at 425. Bam, you're done. Flip it halfway through. So 18 to 20 minutes total. You got a perfect snack or breakfast, or even just a little accessory for a party. Short, simple, sweet.
Yeah, it was really easy. I helped you with some of the prep.
Yep.
Putting the almonds inside the dates wasn't any trouble. I can imagine stuffing cheese into it wouldn't be much trouble as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, very nice treat, man. It's really good.
Yeah.
Really good. Thanks for sharing it.
No problem. All right, so I guess that takes us to
we're
our
gonna
next.
we're gonna be eating them like
Yeah.
throughout the show. So
Yeah, kind of grab a snack as we go. So the topic we want to cover today is really a Trace Mayer driven topic, and we've mentioned Trace in a lot of our previous episodes. And if you haven't had a chance to look him up, definitely look up Trace Mayer, look up Tone Vase, and look up Andreas Antonopoulos.
Yep.
Those are at least our 3 starting points for you guys to start at. And
that's if you really want to dive deeper. Like,
Yeah.
we're going to give you some good surface level, maybe, 5-10 feet deep. But these guys, this is their living. And so, we just created this to make a little fun side project.
Yep.
Some friends getting together and talking about crypto and then sharing some of our findings with the general public. So that's why we're here. So if we can point you in the right direction, if you're hungry to learn more,
or if you're just hungry in general,
or if you're just hungry, yeah,
we got you there
we
too.
got you there too. So yeah, so I've actually been kind of digging into some of Trace's work and some of his videos and his writings this past week, and I'm kind of mad I didn't get into it earlier because he's got a really good organized thought process around this thing that we're going to cover today and introduce you to, which is the 7 network effects of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily anything at this time like I'm 6 months into diving deep on this topics, so it wasn't anything that I hadn't really heard before, but it's really good base level knowledge of understanding why Bitcoin may prove to continue to outpace the rest of the market, or at least it's an argument for it. So there's certainly arguments against it,
and why it will continue to grow. The network effect is, and just to kind of define it for our listeners that may not be familiar with it, network effect is a common term used in business, and it's a phenomenon that you see when there's a drastic increase in numbers of people or participant involved in either a product or an initiative or a technology, and all that does is it compounds the value of the good or service, and actually it drives creation of new and better use cases for that good or service.
Oh yeah, and we're 30. We're both products of kind of the internet age, and we saw life before the internet. We also saw life like in the very early beginnings of the internet, or the early user-driven times of the internet.
That's right.
And now we're here, talking about Bitcoin. So we've definitely experienced several network effects. Like some of these examples might be, like a Facebook, any social network, right? Might be a good example of a network effect. Which as Rob said, and as more and more users come to the network, right, and use it and operate on it, it then, as you said, it drives the value.
It
optimizes
itself. It expands. It becomes
opens new opportunities.
Exactly.
Yeah, all the things.
And so you want to kind of go through the list that Trace talks about. So his.
Yeah, give him a high level of what his 7, or maybe what the first 6 points are, and we'll leave the 7 to the end.
Yeah, that's true. So the first 6, and we'll go through these individually, and I think that's going to be really the main body of our show today.
Yep.
The first one is the first network effect, according to Trace, is speculators. And you guys we'll put a link to his YouTube video where he explains this in there. We're just going to have a general conversation about it. But number 1 is speculators. Number 2 is merchants. The third effect is consumers. 4th, miners. 5, software developers. And then 6, financiers. And we'll leave the 7th to the end. But those first 6, again, these are specific network effects for Bitcoin or even cryptocurrencies in general, right? As that entire space grows, because he references the internet as one of the examples, right? And
Sure.
in the internet, there's only one internet, at least nowadays. There were initially several concepts of internets, but then out of that you had different companies come about. And I guess another example would be automobiles. Right? In automobiles, there's more than just one automobile. There's several different manufacturers. I think when you take those two examples and you plug them into cryptocurrencies, you'll see there may in fact be 5 to 10 major players that come out of this whole development, and that's typical of a world changing invention. So speculators is the first one. You want to go cover speculators?
Yeah, so I think speculators, correct me if I'm wrong, that's people who are looking at Bitcoin as kind of an investment opportunity. Right?
Yeah, a quick buck. They want to trade it. They want to become involved.
Or it could even be like a long-term hold. Like it could be a quick buck from the trading perspective, or it could be I want to feed a little bit of my a percentage of my income into this long-term because.
That's right.
I think it could be something beneficial, like from an IRA perspective.
Yeah, they're looking to get in to grow their value base.
Yeah, and kind of like let your money work for you. That's more and more the ways to get ahead, right? You're gonna, if you're working for someone, you're not an entrepreneur, you're not your own owner, or you're not like some VP of something big. You're pretty much going to be on a fixed salary until you kind of move up the ranks, right?
Yeah.
So how do you create ways to, launch yourself to the next tiers, right? As far as like your financial wealth and your stability.
So Trace himself, Andreas, Tone, all of those guys would be considered speculators, right? They were early adopters, early speculators.
Definitely Tone.
Definitely Tone.
Definitely Tone.
Yeah. Tone is, he believes in Bitcoin and the protocol as well as the use case for Bitcoin, but he's he's a Bitcoin maximalist for sure.
Yeah, and he does a lot of technical analysis, right?
Actually, so are all three of them really. Well, I'm not too sure on Trace, but I know Andreas is as well.
Sure. Well, I know Andreas just likes decentralized, trustless networks, and Bitcoin happens to fill those shoes. He's also interested in the Ethereum project and how that's growing, and
fair. That's
he wrote about it in his last book.
You're right. Yeah.
But they are very pro Bitcoin. Absolutely, you're right. They're very pro Bitcoin.
So then,
cool. So that's speculators.
Yeah.
Right?
So speculators. So number 2 would be merchants, and that would be just as it sounds, merchants beginning to accept Bitcoin because of its value, its use case, and its the number of speculators, number of at least investors that are getting into it.
Mm-hmm.
So merchants see money is being spent, right? Money is being invested into something. They want to have a revenue stream from that money, and so they allow their merchandise to be purchased with that, that avenue, that conduit, which is Bitcoin
and
or crypto.
And the things that are allowing that to happen are these payment processors. BitPay is one of these payment processors where if you register with BitPay to accept payments, they can take some credit card payment, I believe, and they also take Bitcoin and maybe a few other cryptocurrencies. I'm not quite sure. What
BitPay also offers is if you have a goods services, you're a merchant and you sell some sort of goods or service, they will help you get set up to enable you to allow Bitcoin transactions to be converted. They basically will convert it for you as a third party. They'll take their cut, but you'll be able to accept Bitcoin on the surface level from your consumers and customers.
Yeah, and these merchants are they're kind of, when we're talking about these network effects, we're also, we covered it a little bit earlier on the show, like what it means, but each one that we're covering, we want to kind of reinforce that this is a disruption that's happening, right? Mm-hmm. In each one of these layers. Like for the speculators, this is a whole new market, $500 billion. That is a disrupting force on the speculation side. When you have merchants, right, and these payment processors, I don't have the data on how much they're transacting right now, but I can tell you it's a lot, right? And BitPay is not the only one. There's several other players in the market that are big. I'm sure there's several more that are up and comers.
Yeah.
And then you have these web platforms like Shopify, who also started to take Bitcoin.
Overstock.com.
Overstock is taking, so you're
Major
seeing these,
players, yeah.
these kind of online businesses becoming merchants, selling goods and services for Bitcoin and crypto.
Yeah. And Overstock is taking a beating, absolute beating in the marketplace because of this and because of their involvement in cryptocurrencies, and because that whole market has been on a down tear the last couple of months. But I almost guarantee that when this market turns up and it begins to reverse, which we feel that this is the time, Overstock will be just fine.
Yeah.
As long as the SEC doesn't come cracking their heads for their ICO.
Hey, I bet they're doing their due diligence. A company
That's true.
that big and that legitimate would.
I would hope so.
Yeah, I would hope so too.
It's a lot of risk otherwise. So
Yeah.
3.
Yeah. So that wraps up merchants.
Yep.
So consumers, number 3. So consumers, like these are basically people, even like ordinary people, right?
Yeah.
Or me and you. I actually, right now I'm kind of in a speculator mode where I'm kind of buying and I'm holding, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not really.
You haven't made any purchases with it.
I'm not doing a ton of purchases right now. I've transferred some back and forth between friends.
Yeah.
So
this is a minor. This seems to be more of a minority at this point.
yeah, we haven't really seen this network effect really take shape where consumers, people with money in their pockets, actually go out and start, buying a ton of things with crypto.
Yeah, but this is good. Consumers are the consumer network effect occurs because merchants begin to accept it.
They kind of enable each other, right?
Exactly. So you get investors first, then you get these merchants that come along and say, "Hey, I want a piece of this revenue stream," and then consumers, because it's readily available and easy to purchase their goods, or they get some sort of discount, which you see from Purse.io or something like that, where you get a discount on purchasing goods using Bitcoin. They'll start to utilize it, and that, like you said, that network effect is starting to take shape.
Yeah.
But really hasn't quite gotten there. I think it also has to do with the current instability of Bitcoin.
This reminds me of something I was listening to it the other day, and it was I think it was actually Trace Mayer interviewing a guy who was a CEO of an exchange in, I believe it was Venezuela or some South American country. I maybe get it wrong, but he was talking about how
It would have been Venezuela.
people in that country, right? They already kind of are consumers. Like in America, we're not really seeing it as much, or at least I'm not seeing it with you and me and
Accurate.
our
Very
network.
true.
But like in a country where the peso or where the
It's
the
a
government
$1
backed,
thing.
with the government backed fiat currency, people are consuming it. People are buying services. People are paying each other in it and actually transacting.
Yeah.
And this this kind of like pullback recently has been really kind of detrimental, and like that volatility has kind of been hurting, but at the same time, it's not near the volatility that they've experienced through their own nation's
That's
currency.
true. In our currency, that volatility seems high, but in the currency, like I think it's the Venezuelan dollar. I'll look it up and fact check that. In a country like Venezuela or Zimbabwe, who is also going through a currency crisis,
There you go.
those two countries, that fluctuation is minimal compared to what they've been seeing, where a barrel of cash sometimes cannot buy them their daily groceries.
Yeah, so in a highly regulated environment like the U.S., where maybe we haven't seen as much merchant consumer, right? But in these other countries where they're in a lot more economic trouble as countries and sovereignties, this is they may already be consumers more than we think.
And the flip side of that card would be Japan, where they are a first world country and they are accepting Bitcoin and I believe Litecoin, and Ethereum, and Dogecoin.
Dogecoin.
Yeah, Dogecoin. on a national scale, and you can go to just about any merchant in Japan or several a large portion of the populace and use any of those coins to purchase goods, services, or anything that you need, and it's that is leading. Japan is leading the charge with that network effect.
Well said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that brings us to four. Four would be miners, and I almost think he got these out of order because the miners really, we saw a massive spike in the number of miners in the last probably year, 18 months, and you start to look at this thing and as miners go, they may or may not have started to reach that maximum potential as far as mining, where the cost of mining reaps the benefits of being a miner as far as the cost of the energy cost.
Are you saying they haven't reached that?
I don't think they've reached it yet, but I think they're.
Oh, I don't know.
They may be nearing that point where
it costs too much.
Where it costs too much to mine versus what your return is.
Yeah.
Like the ROI, so your return on investment.
There's
no longer profitable.
Well, so I think there are other cryptocurrencies that are making mining profitable, which is why you're seeing growth in it. But you're also seeing I think maybe the point he's trying to allude to here is also from kind of a hardware and technology industrial perspective, where these ASIC miners and GPUs are flying off the shelves and they're back ordered for months, right? Like, you go to a Micro Center and ask for a GPU, they'll laugh at you, they'll point you to a website where it's like 5 times as much as it normally would be.
It's true, and probably on top of that, the power and the power of the technology, the processing power, we're probably looking at a very large breakthrough in that area, because the company that comes through and is able to increase the speed of their mining capacity for their the video card that they use. I think it's video card. Maybe
it's a graphics card.
Graphics card. Thank you. The graphics card that they use. If any company is able to come out,
it's the graphical processing unit, the GPU.
So if they're able to increase the processing speed by 50%, 100%, double them, any company that's able to do that is going to make a boatload of money. So there's a lot of money to be had there, and if that happens, then the whole mining discussion gets revamped, and we start to look at, okay, maybe if that price point that they're selling it at is low enough and the speed increase is high enough, then you may become profitable again with mining. But
it's kind of like Moore's law, right? Like,
yeah,
it's pacing it more or less with Moore's law, and you see, I think you're right, because of this demand, right, for the units. Companies that are maybe more invested in the research and discovering these new types of technology you speak of that may be game changing and completely disruptive to how mining is currently done. But guess what? Everyone is maybe searching for that, and that kind of innovation doesn't happen overnight, and it definitely doesn't happen.
But this is a catalyst
behind closed doors as much as things happen.
But this kind of atmosphere is the catalyst for that kind of innovation. So that's exciting.
Totally.
Yeah, and that's what innovation drives innovation, and that is a true statement in all regards. And the innovation of Bitcoin is driving the innovation behind these GPU units.
Another point he was getting to with the miners was on the actual hash rate, which represents the security of the network, right? Okay. So one of the principal reasons why Bitcoin is so secure is because its hash power is in over 20 exahashes at this point, which is a unfathomable amount of processing power. I've heard quotations from 2 years ago saying it was, when the hash power was a third of what it is right now, that it was faster than 500 of the world's top supercomputers collectively working together. So the fact that you have that much computing power spread across a globe, that's all contributing to a consensus algorithm that's written in the code base.
Yeah.
And anyone who would try to hurt the network would have to put out all of this power, right, to try to reverse it, right? That's expensive, as you're attuning to. So, it becomes, it's the game theory of, hey, is it worth it for me to apply this much computer processing power, right, to hurt the network? Or if I have this much power anyway, should I just contribute and make my profits?
Yeah. And then the next piece of innovation that needs to be driven off of that is power consumption. How do we limit, or reduce power consumption? So essentially the cooling requirement, and that is the largest driver of Moore's law, right? Is as the processing power doubles every
18 months.
every 18 months.
Is what the general
right. That's the general rule of Moore's law. The heat dissipation has to increase as well.
Yeah.
And so cooling is a big energy consumer.
There's like multiple factors. Mining's a cool topic. We should probably go deeper on it in one show.
Yeah.
But you can tell it's a really powerful network effect, and it's number 4 on our list.
So then number 5, probably spent a good bit of time on the first few. Number 5 is software developers, and basically what he was saying, and Spencer, you're
I am a software.
Exactly. So you should be able to speak to this a little more than me, but it sounded like what he was describing was that the software developers, they're going to want to build on the most secure protocol. The larger this thing gets, the more secure it gets. Just like you said with the hash rate, the hashing power, right? The larger that gets, the more secure it is. So the more secure the protocol is.
Yeah, it's working for a company that's in kind of a nice, has a very like fast growth trajectory right now. I can say that scaling up software is difficult, and to be able to scale up software across a globe in a decentralized way, meaning like these people aren't in the same room together, right? Necessarily,
right?
These people are
different time zones, coming
home from their day jobs, hopping online and submitting code because they believe in this. And you have arguably, I hear there's 400 active developers contributing to Bitcoin Core. And those aren't just like developers, like you throw developers at a problem. Like these are world-class, people who are well-known and have very crazy projects and come from really incredible, entrepreneurial backgrounds and have been very wildly successful in the IT space. So, and you were exactly right before, if you're going to work on a base layer protocol, you're going to want to work on one that doesn't have bugs, right? That is safe and secure, that is the most valued, the one that is, got the most network effects moving positively for it.
Right. It's got the most support.
It's got the most support, and if you got the most support with your software, that's a really great competitive advantage. So that's one of the reasons why I think he put software developers on there.
That's a great perspective from you on that. So number 6 is the last of the first 6 we're going to talk about. That's financiers, and by financiers we're talking about the Wall Street money, the new financial instruments for adding value or creating investment, and that would be your futures trading.
Definitely, CFTC.
Yeah, exactly. Your
CBOE,
the options trading.
Options trading.
Exactly. So futures and options coming in is a huge financial instrument, and then also trading on margin, which I don't believe you're allowed to trade on margin in the United States anymore. I think that got banned. So right now, I think the only way you can trade on margin is if you have either you have an overseas account or you're not based in the United States, which is the legal way to do it. So Anyway, those are kind of the new financiers and financial instruments that he was talking about. And I guess that leaves us with our last.
Well, I want to dig a little deeper into
Yeah.
financiers if we can.
Yeah.
There's definitely some things blending with the number 5, right, our software developer network effect, and then with number 6, these financiers. I think what you're going to start to see is because you have this concept of these cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin being inherently programmable, right? It's literally programmable value. So I don't think we've really even hit I don't even think we've hit the very early stages of these new instruments, this new way of thinking about programmable money. And maybe we'll cover this on another show. There's something called the liquid network, which could really disrupt the way exchanges transfer value between each other. But more on that in another episode.
Yeah, I think the liquid network falls more into that software developer aspect. I think the financiers is kind of, and maybe he means this in a different way than I took it, but I think the financier piece and the financial instruments means the traditional financial instruments where the old money comes in and starts to utilize their typical financial instruments that we're seeing now.
That's true.
Right, the futures and the options, and eventually they'll bring back margins trading when they understand how to make it a little less disadvantaged for somebody that's going in and is going to get wrecked that doesn't know what they're doing, because you can get absolutely fucked over with margins trading, which is why
Hey, if you're operating on a decentralized exchange, on a decentralized network, on a decentralized value protocol, you're not going to be able to be regulating. You can do whatever you want. You could lose your own Bitcoin in ways that you could never think of. So be careful out there, cyber chefs.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, the pinnacle.
Yeah.
Take it away, dude.
So the last network effect that he talks about, and this is kind of the end-all, be-all of all these network effects, and kind of the final stage, and that is the world reserve currency. And that's really, that will only occur when you have worldwide adoption, or at least worldwide use.
Mm-hmm.
And we have worldwide use, but not in all of these network effects, right? You need consumers actively utilizing the currency across borders, right? Being able to go from one country to another, knowing that, hey, if I have Bitcoins in my cyber wallet, I'll be able to spend it when I go to Spain on vacation. Mm-hmm. Which really, there's nothing like that right now, right? So if I went from the U.S. to Spain, I'd have to convert to Spain's currency. Actually,
Euro, probably.
Yeah, that's true. I guess maybe the euro. I'm not sure what their national currency is, but yeah,
Euro. They're part of the European Union.
Yeah, so the Spanish currency, the euro.
So I think where you may be getting at with the world reserve currency is how today the U.S. dollar is treated as the world reserve currency, meaning that the way that all the business is conducted, and as the foreign exchange.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Pieces. All of that is based on a value of a USD, right? And I think what he's kind of alluding to here is what happens when China starts paying US in Bitcoin? What happens when there's these large country to country settlements that are occurring, or moving money into a certain zone, and just
and you have a non-state-owned reserve of currency. That's kind of the decentralized model. Because right now the U.S., and granted being a U.S. citizen, we've got to love this to a certain degree. The U.S. is the world reserve currency. In order to make massive moves in monetary value, a lot of times they flow through the U.S. trade centers.
Right.
But and you know, maybe I can be corrected on that, or somebody out there will correct me on that
I'm not
statement.
going to correct you.
But the world reserve currency that he's talking about is one that is fully fleshed out, decentralized, and able to
Scale up to meet those needs.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah, you're exactly right. So, yeah, that is Trace Mayer's 7 network effects. I hope
we've expanded on them quite a bit from his, I think, like 7-minute video.
Yeah, but it's it makes me very long term, interested and want to stay involved in the space because I find it really interesting because it affects a lot of different parts of the world. So it's kind of fun. So you want to take us away with the life hack? How we finish every show?
Yeah, let's talk about the life hack. I think this one may be a little less useful than some of the other ones we've had. Although I don't know, buying your U.S. citizenship may be more useful to a few than others. But waterproofing your shoes. You ever want just like kind of a cheap way to waterproof your shoes? Beeswax is actually very easy to waterproof canvas shoes. And so what you do is basically you'll spread the beeswax over your shoes, take a blow dryer, melt the beeswax until you can no longer see it in your shoes. It'll cool within the canvas, and boom, it's sealed up those small holes that you normally have in the canvas layered shoes, and makes the shoe waterproof.
Dude, one more reason why I like these.
One more reason. There you go, man. Not to mention that honey is delicious.
And we're 2 yellow jackets.
That's true. It's true. They're long lost cousins. So.
All right, miss you, Marshall. We'll have you on the next one, and that's all for us. It's Cooking with Crypto show. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Cooking with Crypto. We're starting to get more involved on Twitter, and we'll be reaching out to you soon for new interviews and new content. So stay tuned for that. Check out our website, cookingwithcrypto.com. We're posting more and more on it every day, and yeah.
Awesome. Keep the burners going, Cyber Chefs.
Ooh, a new one.
Yeah.
See y'all later.
Adios.